my father was a big influence on me in terms of it's important to be a good human being before being a good professional. We learn from mistakes. Genuinely believe that for any leader to become better, and you have to be curious. As we grow up and we realize that how important it is to be staying grounded. So that was the always do the right thing. I have played straight, and that's worked well. These are things which define success. This is we have to be a student throughout our life. The minute I started believing that I know it all, I'm done.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of The Human Link. Who's that person and expert behind the title as we all see, and what decisions have brought them here? We are all poised to find out in today's episode. Hello, I'm Sanjay Muthal. I'm an advisor to the board of Refine and CEO at Argolinks Consulting. I come with 4 decades of experience in India and abroad. Decades went by in the Middle East and UK. Then I worked with large Indian groups, and now, last decade or so, I have been an entrepreneur. I'm glad to sit before another dear friend and a professional brother, an enduring achiever and consummate professional who keeps on delivering results for one of India's most respected global brands, Wipro. He's a CHRO who has fielded lots of crises. Talent management is one of his prime focus and areas, but he's held the top HR executive job for 20 years now at this large corporate. Fittingly, he is an oft-chosen speaker at NASSCOM HR summits and is on the advisory board of SHRM. He also contributes to NHRDN Journal as an author. Before joining Wipro, he was associated with ITC Limited, Genpact, and GE Healthcare. In his free time, he enjoys cricket and Bollywood. Please welcome Mr. Saurabh Govil.
Thank you.
So, welcome, Saurabh.
Thanks for having me over, Sanjay. It's a pleasure and it's a delightful to speaking to you.
So, let's start from where it all began. What was the defining moment when you decided that HR or people management is going to be my way of life?
So actually, to be honest, Sanjay, it was never a thought, and I must share with you my personal journey. I am from a family of doctors. So, my
Okay.
father was a doctor, my brother is a doctor. So it happened that I have to become a doctor. That was the way it was in those days. So I took science. I did my graduation, did my 12th, and I applied for the pre-medical. And I thought I had worked hard, and I didn't get through. So when I get through, I said I will not do it again. So typically people their second attempt, one attempt, I said I'll not do it again. And I got into doing my post graduation in a completely different field, economics. And then after graduation, I said let's apply. There was this CAT and all. So completely change of stream. And when I was applying everywhere, when I applied to my alma mater, I asked people, and they said HR is a stronger stream there. It's a better course. So I said, let's
That was
apply
XLR, right?
XLRA. So I applied there, and the rest is history, and I got there. So that's how it happened. It was nothing planned. I had no inclination. I had no view. Nobody at home had knew what this management is. So I come from a family of doctors. So it's coincidence. It's just coincidence.
Fantastic. I think some common sharing. My family also wanted me to be doctor.
Oh, interesting.
Ended up taking science, which I never kind of aligned with, and then ultimately got into humanities and then
Very similar story. Yeah? Very
similar
similar story. Very
similar
similar story.
in your journey, there must have been mentors or people who were influencers in your career. Would you like to talk to us about them, or who was somebody who had a profound effect on what you ultimately became that you are today?
So I'll tell you, it's not one person. It
Sure.
have been a number of people who have influenced as I and more impact in your formative years at works. So one is my father was a big influence on me in terms of it's important to be a good human being before being a good professional. That was the
Lovely.
what I've grown up with kind of stuff. That was the big influence. As everything you do it the right way. Second, I think as we grew up, my bosses in the beginning of my career. I must give an incident. I had joined ITC after my passing out, and I was in those days this you used to call pupils.
Right.
That
Correct. I
the
remember.
management trainees in IDC is typical British thing. They're called pupils, and I was in a factory in Calcutta for a year, and computers had just come in that time. So I had the entire. I did some. I was trying to learn something, and I remember very vividly. I did something. The entire employee database of about 1,000 odd factory workers got wiped out.
Oh gosh.
So I thought this is the end of my career in ITC. And my boss then he came and he said, first reaction was, oh, okay, never mind. Now let's sit and rebuild that data.
Right.
So I think it was the first learning that we learn from mistakes. It's about being forgiving, helping. And I sat for the next 72 hours keying in data for every employee that time and rebuilt it. And that was one defining moment kind of stuff. As
Beautiful.
I think later in the years, I've been fortunate to work very closely with Mr. Premji, kind of stuff.
Of
And
course. Of course.
few things which I picked up is being curious. I genuinely believe that for any leader to become better, and you have to be curious. So I think that's what his keenness to learn new things, ask the questions, being very comfortable in saying I don't know. Please help me understand. Kind of stuff. Speaking to somebody who's 20 years younger to understand and like a reverse mentoring. Second, I picked up is I think it's about humility. As we grow up and we realize that how important it is to be staying grounded.
Absolutely.
So that was the second thing. And the last one which I picked up has been is in terms of always do the right thing. As they say, that if you speaking the truth, you don't have to think. You don't
Correct. Correct.
just speak it.
You don't have to remember what you said
So
last time.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's one. Always do the right thing, and things will fall. Working in a corporate life, the people say it's political environment. You need to manage, be tact. I have played straight, and that's worked well.
And I think for us, external world, Mr. Premji is an icon.
And absolutely.
And humility, you rightly picked up. Because early in my career, when I started traveling, I used to see him sitting in an economy class. And somewhere in his interview, he said, how does it matter?
Yeah.
The flight lands at the same place
Yeah,
and
it's
we
the
get out
same,
of the same airport. So it doesn't matter where you're sitting.
I think it's there are a number of instances, folklore, kind of stuff. There was never a fixed parking space in the car park for him. First come, first serve.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
There's simple messages. There was never a separate elevator in the office. You stand in a queue and you get,
Yes.
when we are not in our own campus, when we are in these shared buildings. There's simple things which
Profound message these are,
these are
right? Isn't
messages.
it? Otherwise, we see in a lot of
This
corporates,
kind of stuff.
MD's
This
elevator
yeah.
or something like that.
I do fix car park,
Fixed car park,
kind
yeah,
of stuff.
correct.
So he said, if I need it, I need to come early.
Beautiful.
These are simple things which are there. It's the ability to say that it's unfortunate I couldn't convince you, but on some debate, under discussion on
Yeah.
topic, but never pushing forward for. So I think these have been learnings, for life. These are life lessons for you, and
Correct.
how do you make an impact?
So, Saurabh, as you look back, and for all of us know that you have been a very successful HR professional. Personally, what does success mean to you?
You know, the question asked often, Sanjay, and end of the day, it's being happy. Having a good night's sleep. You know,
Lovely.
having deep relationships. Family, friends. Kind of. I think these are the things which will hold you for long. A lot of things come along with that. When you grow and I've been in the industry for long, kind of stuff. But I think these are things which define success. If I can have a good family life, good time with family, extended friends, good friends, being healthy and fit. No, actually, Sanjay, I must tell you, after I've spoken to you, it's been in my mind that I have to get into that same path as you.
Thank you.
Something, because you told me and it happened one day and you told me the story.
Yeah.
And I think what it takes me to get into that path, I think it's important. And that's my next big thing of success if I'm able to do that.
Thank you so much.
Seriously.
But you have crazy schedules, travel
Yeah,
schedules,
but
and so
I'll
on
tell
and
you,
so
all this,
forth.
you have equally, you travel much
Yeah.
more than me. But I'm saying it's in the mind,
True.
Everything in the mind.
True. True.
Once you have thought through it,
Correct.
you can do
Correct.
it.
If you're committed to it, then
Committed to
you
it.
commit. I mean, you do it.
So
Like
that
you're
is
committed to work, you to
that
finish
is
particular
that
thing.
is success. Is that success is that if I'm able to be happy, and happiness comes in a lot of things,
Right.
but not chased any you know, thing with a material kind of stuff. Now these are things that are important. I'm saying but it's not that you chase them. This is the outcome of other things, but very clearly these are things which help me: relationships,
Absolutely.
happiness, health, kind of stuff.
I'm completely aligned with first sentence that you made that. How soon I can sleep when I hit the bed.
Right.
I think
This
that's
is the
completely
complete
sign of
success.
an happiness.
Yes.
Completely aligned.
Because you're not doing anything wrong.
Correct. Correct.
You're not
So
saying
there's
anything
no
wrong.
guilt.
There's no guilt. I'm doing the
Absolutely.
right thing. Kind
Absolutely.
of stuff. So I think that's what makes it.
Now tell us some of the. I'm sure in the life of an executive, there's a lot of topsy turvy things happening. What are some of the tough decisions that you had to take? If you can
See,
narrate
I'll
one
tell
or
you.
two instances, please.
In life, I learned early that we all as human beings want to be liked,
Yeah,
but as a leader, at times we'll have to take decisions which, whatever how well we do it, that decision, some people will not like it.
correct, correct.
In a tough environment, you take calls, you do all on people, and the toughest thing that has happened is is that sometime few years back, one of my closest colleagues became a very close friend, had to be let go
Oh,
for reasons of because of some restructuring happening in that. Now I also have to wear the hat of a leader and saying that I have to be, if five people are getting impacted in that business and the business is shutting down, everybody goes.
correct, correct.
I couldn't do it for one person, then no, I'll
That's
find
right.
another role.
That's
I think these are the toughest moments and kind of
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And that individual known very well, kind of. But I tried my best as a human being leader to help.
yeah.
So we've stayed good friends till today. But these are things which make you very tough calls.
True. And I think objectivity of things that one needs to.
See, I've also learned, Sanjay, that we all live in glass houses.
Correct.
As a
True.
leader, what you do, what you say
Yeah.
is all heard.
Completely.
Every word, every action of yours is observed.
Correct.
We speak about our leaders, which we see all the time.
Yeah.
They and people judge you by that. So we always have to do the right things,
True.
and then have to define. So in this similar case, I, it is very easy for to find, because in my own function, I could find an alternate role in another business. But if everybody, the entire leadership of that business is going, I cannot make an exception for one
Exception.
person. Those are the tough calls you're taking. But then you have to stand by, kind of stuff.
True. True. Interestingly, I also wanted to ask you that you must be facing a lot of questions from the new recruits, the young talent that comes into the organization. And I've also seen you dealing with the media. How do you manage, and what are those things that actually, how you deal with those?
This is a classic issue which we face in terms of, and I'll give you some very stories here, in terms of how do you deal with this reality that a young engineering graduate who's, when he was in his last semester, Wipro came on campus, gave him an offer. He was like thrilled. I'm going to start at Wipro, kind of stuff. And then the world has changed because he's still waiting to be getting onboarded.
True.
And and then you realize that you're actually impacting somebody's career,
Yeah.
and you have no definitive answer. So next 3 months we'll let you know. 3 months we'll let you know. The market is tough. We'll come back to you. Now, this is where the classic case comes: is that, are you running a enterprise for profit? Are you running an enterprise for for the greater good? And
Yeah.
how do we strike a balance there? That becomes a problem, Sanjay, because you know if I had to onboard 1,000 more engineers, a company of our size would cannot, break, bank would not break.
True.
But then where does it end? Because you have to do something which is right. How do I use them? So I think these are the very tough moments. And in our environment, in a country like ours, where you know there are more engineers than jobs today and a kind of
That's right.
stuff, and there is it's tough market. The macro
True.
environment is tough. Although our economy is much better than what is happening across
True.
the globe, I genuinely feel that at these times you feel you're torn at times.
True. True.
Yeah.
True.
And then media, you know, they have their own job to do in terms of how do I. It's about news. It's
That's right.
about news,
That's right.
and they're sharing both sides of stories. So
Yeah.
to be fair to them and that kind of stuff. So it's never easy. It's never good. It's never good kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, the true character of a leader comes out in tough times.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
When you're
Completely.
growing, when your things are going
That's
well,
right.
you can give goodies to everybody, give
Correct.
large
Correct.
increments, bonuses,
Correct.
promotions. People are happy, then they all think a great guy. In tough times, how you deal with them is critical.
Very true. And bad news is a good news always,
Yeah,
right? For
so
the
true.
media.
Well,
So
well.
true, interesting. So how do you keep the hiring strategy so dynamic? Because when you go to hire, it seems that it is a probable intake. By the time 6 months later, when time comes, economy and
Yeah.
situations have changed. So that must be a very balancing act that you need to do, isn't it?
And Sanjay, to be honest with you, we haven't done it well. That is where we are in the industry. Is not only
Yeah, yeah.
is in the technology industry is in the
True,
situation.
true.
When COVID happened, we had so much of demand that we didn't know the world has come to an end. So we just went and hired in thousands, kind of stuff,
Yeah,
and hoping that the world will continue like that.
correct.
And the world didn't continue like that.
That's right.
So we haven't got it right, and that
Yeah.
is why people are still stuck where from and it's impacted people's lives.
Hmm.
So
I'm sure.
that is what has
I'm sure.
happened. So it's a fine balance, and now once bitten twice shy. You are much more careful. You tread with caution, kind of stuff. But the damage is done for the industry. In the first time in the history of this industry that there is a negative hit count
Oh yeah,
for the last
yeah.
fiscal across the industry.
That's right.
All the large players have at least reduced the head count. This was a you know employment generating industry. The number of
Correct.
people employed,
Correct.
kind of stuff. We
Correct.
used to take boast. I used to remember going and telling how many people we have added, how many offers we have made, and that was the kind of thing. And that was also a bellwether for how the economy is doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so all that has changed to that large extent.
And you must be a multi-generational workforce at work, isn't it today?
Very true.
And so, how do you deal with challenges that each generation brings to the table?
So, it's a very interesting thing, and I'll tell you another anecdote here. So some discussion was happening on some major policy kind of stuff issue. And everybody sitting in that room was 40 plus,
Right.
deciding on when the average age in the company is 27, 28. So deciding for the people who are actually 2 decades younger to you. We all have been brought up a particular way. Our thinking is different. You and I have the same, lineage, so we will think
Correct.
different. Our children think different. Every
Completely
5 years,
different.
the generation is
That's
changing.
right.
And that's where the thought came, that what are we trying to do? Only thing what we have tried to do right now is, and anything which we try to do is give choice
Yeah.
till to as far as possible. Any policy, any benefits coming, and let the people take a decision. As an organization, can we give them choices? Can it be a menu-driven approach? Can it be more choices for them to decide on? Because different people have different requirements,
True. True. Absolutely.
and we are also moving into an era where as we scaling up. So when I joined this company, this was we had some 20,000 people headcount. We have 10x of that, right now, 250,000 people. When we grew up, it was all about process and scale. You do it, and you can scale it, kind of
That's
stuff.
right.
I think the time has come now for looking at it is how can you make it personalized.
Yeah.
You go to a bank, your banking needs are very different from my banking needs,
True.
and how can you make it personal? Similarly, at scale, can I make it personalized for people?
True. True.
And that's what we're trying to look at it, because you will not be able to decipher what every generation
Correct.
requires.
Correct. That's why I think the very popular term called policies
Become
are
frameworks.
become
Frameworks. They're
they're
just their guidelines,
completely guidelines,
they're
isn't it?
guardrails.
Otherwise, we grew up looking
In
at the
their
policies
policy,
and this is allowed, that is not allowed, and things like
well,
that.
every possible permission combination you cannot fit into it. So
Correct.
you'll have to. These are guardrails. These are frameworks, and let people decide. A lot of stuff which is there. I've also realized that the more you make people accountable, they become more responsible.
True.
So if
True.
I decide for them everything, do it this way. If anything goes wrong, you told us to do it this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you told this is the way I would expect,
That's right. And give them that
yeah,
freedom to
you
kind
know,
of choose
you know,
the path.
path. I think that make them more accountable.
Beautiful.
I've seen it. My sons and they left for studies. Getting in a hostel. They started managing money, and then they become much
Correct.
more responsible
Responsible.
than they were when they were at home, and that kind
Absolutely.
of stuff.
Absolutely.
So I think that is important for us to realize.
True. And I think the enormity of change that is happening around us today, especially in case of multi generational, is enormous,
It's
isn't it?
huge. It's huge. In fact, I have realized that it'll be tough for group of people to decipher what everybody wants,
Correct. Correct. Correct.
because as you ask, how do you define success? They have different needs, requirements.
That's right. That's right.
you know what you and I were discussing in terms of this on financial prudence for
Wellness.
people,
Yeah.
and building that advocacy around
That's right.
is a huge important thing.
Absolutely.
And what are you doing? You're saying, I'm giving you money in your hands to do the right way.
Yeah.
You make the choice.
On this, I just met a CHRO in a forum. Very young talent. They were having a meeting like management trainees completing 12 months and finishing the event. They had a town hall. So this young girl got up and said that, sir, you are giving us choices in terms of careers. You're the HR lady, so you want to do LNOD, you want to do talent management, engagement or something. But why are you not giving us choices on the money that we earn? Why are you saying that the money should be paid at the end of the month only? I need money on 15th, give it on 15th. So I'm saying people are thinking differently.
Absolutely. The needs are
And
very different, kind of stuff. So, uh, in fact, the developed world, if you see, the
yeah,
US, it is became a buy and well
yeah,
kind of
it
stuff
is.
because of these
Yeah,
reasons.
true, true, true. So looking at your career, and I saw that you spent formative years and long years with ITC. How did that shape you? What are some of the building blocks in your career that came from ITC?
So I think very high impact, for me. Those I was very fortunate to work with people of a very high caliber. I was fortunate to work with unions. I was posted in a place called Munger
Oh my,
for 4 years. I saw a lockdown, I saw a strike, I saw a Gerao. And I realized that dealing with a union and the people understanding you get from there is same as as you grow up and you deal with other. Just and let me give you some examples here. There's the old days thing that you deserve the unions you get.
correct.
You know, in the old personal management days, how do I go and fix this? There's a political angle kind of stuff.
True.
Again, if you play straight with the unions, you know, they will play straight. They know, obviously there are people in those days there were people, but I've learned that playing straight. Second is in terms of again always doing the right thing, patience.
Yeah.
You know, I remember I was Gerard, and we were right. We believed as a management we were right in what we were doing. 48 hours I was not allowed to leave the room.
Oh gosh.
Okay, and but I kept on explaining to them that this is the reason why and somewhere some people see reason. So if you play straight, if you be patient, if you grounded, if you are not playing games, I think all those things I picked up there from
Sure.
IDC. Okay. The other piece I think there was about excellence. I think that's another piece where um, I learned from IDC in terms of whatever we do it the right way and kind of stuff, and that has helped me in good stead. Uh, Lastly, because I stayed in such remote locations like Munger and others, very very deep relationships.
Yeah.
I realized that uh, my lot of friends today, also family friends, are people who were colleagues at that point of time.
True.
So that's how that impacted my formative years.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. The other thing I wanted to ask you, and we've gone through these discussions in our own backyards, the HR role today has evolved, right? From the maintenance to strategic to today tactical and what have you. On this journey, there were also back noises around HR is not contributing anything and things like that. And then now HR is at a stage where it's the most respected, if I may say, or function at the corporate. How have you kind of dealt with any of these, if at all, in your career?
So I realized, there are certain things, and I've been fortunate, and I'll give you. I was in I've been in two different industries. I've been in the manufacturing industry with ITC,
Right.
and then I moved to services with GE,
Gee,
and now with the Wipro kind of stuff. In a manufacturing setup, when you're dealing with large plants, that was we used to make. I was in the tobacco divisions. We used to make cigarettes. It was a livelihood. It was generating 90% profit. The function was very critical because you were dealing with a unionized environment, and anything that went wrong there could impact the company's growth, profitability, everything could have happened. You move to services, the industry which I represent today, 60% of our cost structure is people.
absolutely.
Okay, so anything I do, I'm in front of financial analysts. Anything which we do impacts people. So very clearly, the era of HR being a very gooey, nice to do
Correct.
kind of stuff, I think it's hardcore, stuff which makes a difference. It's a function where you can make a huge business impact with empathy. And I
Beautiful.
think that's what we are today
Business impact with
with
empathy.
empathy.
I think I want to highlight this
Because
fantastic statement.
because if you see a lot of functions and individuals and leaders will make a business impact, but we are also at empathy because I'm saying somewhere deep we are also the conscience keeper of the company.
Beautiful.
People look up to us that if there's a problem, I can go up to them.
True.
And how do I make sure that I'm seen as that? How do I strike a balance where between being a employee advocate and a management uh, decision maker? So I
That's right.
think how do we strike the balance in these two? So these are the things which are important. I think today it's very critical. You know, any business is a people's business.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And how do you manage that will define. That's what it is. I have seen very well run organizations getting disrupted by one bad leader,
Absolutely.
and very organizations who are not doing well getting resurrected by a very good leader. So the impact people can make is huge, and we as a function can enable that to a large extent. So I
Sure.
genuinely believe that we have a very, very critical role in making that impact for the organization.
True. Very true. Conscience keeper is my favorite as well because I think in go no go decision, are you the conscious which people look up to and say that yes, I go to Saurabh or Sanjay and they will actually lead me to a decision which is the right decision. I think well said. Well said.
Very critical. I'm saying we must have the courage and conviction to stand up and say this is not okay,
True.
to push back, to disagree. You know, uh,
Absolutely.
and the environment should be created that this is acceptable.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing it for the long term good of the organization, that's what is important.
Very true. Very true. In your early career, I'm sure there must have been few disappointments. And how did you deal with that?
So a lot of disappointments, I tell you, and I can start. I remember internships. After the first year, we used to have two MBA
Correct.
internship. I was the last one to get an internship in my batch, which has a lot of peer pressure.
Yeah.
That this
Yeah.
will impact you.
सबको हो गया मेरा
अब
नहीं
nahi
हुआ.
hua kind of stuff. But final placement was the first one to get a final
Oh,
placement.
nice.
So I think so. That was a big learning. So I'm saying uh, I wasn't sure. A lot of people said it's tough life if you want to get into manufacturing and union from an
Yeah.
HR standpoint. I chose it by design. A lot of people
Choice.
went into in those days corporate jobs kind of
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
CNB, LND kind of stuff. I think it's kept me at good stead. The learning has been huge, as a youngster, as a bachelor those days, I could be anywhere in the country. I could, work in different parts, and I learned a lot kind of stuff. But disappointments happen in terms of you used to join in batches. Sometimes some people went ahead of you. Some people,
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Those days you felt, is it being fair? Is it the right thing happening to me? Kind of stuff. Those things happen. But as you grow, you become mature. You realize that this is not a sprint. This is a marathon, and you have to define what is success for you.
True.
Because if I define my success comparing myself with others, there'll always be disappointment.
Always. Correct.
you
Correct.
know because we don't know what that other person, we just see one part of that other
That's
person,
true.
not seeing the other,
That's
what he or she is not getting into.
beautiful.
So I think those have been learnings for me, and disappointments,
Beautiful.
career wise kind of stuff. Something happened but I've been also fortunate to have the right environment and right places. I had a lovely career within first 11, 12 years in ITC, an outstanding company, a very good friend still today. Just wanted to be in a services business, and that's when uh, Jackass was happening and kind of stuff those days, and completely revolutionizing into services. So I said,
Yeah.
I've been in manufacturing, very India centric. Let me get into something which was global.
Global.
And that's where I got into it. And then I moved to GE Healthcare because that part of GE, those Jackass was GE. So it's
Yeah.
only actually three companies. I've only
Correct.
worked in ITC and GE.
Yeah.
I moved to GE Healthcare, and GE Healthcare is a joint venture in Wipro and
Correct.
in India,
Yeah.
Wipro GE. And
Viprojit.
that's how I got to know Mr. Premji, and I moved to Wipro. So I think that's been the journey. So if you look at me, it's just been I've been a two company, before Wipro. It's ITC and G.
G. That's it. So, in today's role as a successful HR leader of one of the largest global Indian brand, how does this role look like? What is how do you describe your current role?
See, I'll tell you, the current role, if I look at it, Sanjay, is all about how can I make Wipro a better place. In terms of business, in terms of people, in terms of careers, kind of stuff. And how can I reach a stage in, all of us are in that stage where we want our teams to become better,
Correct.
we grow by more leaders, kind of stuff, which is there. But from a role perspective, I think we need to start, and this is a realization happened to me, as I was becoming more mature in my roles, that I often now left the functional hat away,
Yeah. Yeah.
that I'm a Wipro leader.
Yeah.
So it's not about me, my function, what is happening. It's
Yeah.
about how can Wipro do better. It's not about looking at an issue from an HR angle, but looking at an issue from
Business angle.
business angle. How is it impacting? It's not about being pointing fingers on myself. It is about how things are happening. I think those are the things which have looked at a perspective. But again, I repeat, whatever people might say, what is the environment? If we, as an individual, as a professional, play straight, the world will play straight with us, and that's been our biggest learning. We always do the right thing.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That is what will
That's a
make you.
fantastic message, sir. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that out. Uh, Other thing I wanted to check with you is, you're a multi-locational, multi-geography workplace. How do you keep connected with employees in different geographies, and is that challenging, or how do you cope up with that?
It is challenging. It is challenging, Sanjay. The sheer spread. It became even more challenging with the COVID.
Today, you're what, about 200,000 people,
We
close
are
to that.
235
Gosh,
thousand people in 63 countries.
in
63 countries.
gosh,
Okay. I think the challenge for us is, and post COVID, what we have seen is an avenue open for people to work from home.
that's right.
Some of it, I'll be on a lighter note, is getting misused. That people are still finding it tough to come.
Correct.
I keep asking us, have you stopped sending your kids to school after COVID? That then there's no traffic, but it's only when coming to office, it's Bangalore traffic and rains and everything happens. So it is a challenge of staying connected with people. But I think uh, empowered teams. I think you need to just have empowered teams and leaders there to be in touch with them to get a feel of what's happening. I make it a point to travel. Now, next 3 weeks, I was telling you, I'm
Yeah.
just on the road to just meet people across. which I see you also doing it. Whenever you are traveling,
Yeah,
you make it a point to meet, and I think that's a lot of it's so great because you make it a point to meet and build those old relationships. Meeting
true.
old friends. It's an effort. It's not easy.
It is not easy. But I think one realizes human life is about interconnectedness, right?
Exactly. So I think that makes a big difference.
We are here for some purpose,
Absolutely,
and you find your own purpose at the end of the day.
it makes a big difference.
Thank you for sharing that. Again, XLRI to global CHR of Wipro is a long journey. What are a few of those learnings in this long journey that you would like to share?
First of all, I think the point you made, it's a long journey.
Correct.
And we should not look at uh, gratification, instant gratification.
True.
Everything will come. There's a time and place for everything. I think the biggest learning I have is, I tell youngsters, is that today is the world of instant gratification. So that is one piece which is there, that things will happen. And often for us, when I was in class 10, how much I got in maths was important that time. Today it is not important for me.
True.
So one is a long journey. Second is, it's a lot of luck and a lot of hard work. It's both.
Agree.
Luck is where you get a break, where what environment you are. I have seen it, and I'm a bit scholar, old school. Hard work is competitive advantage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you know, I have seen it in any field. If you want to excel, there is no substitute to putting in that extra.
True.
And it doesn't happen because you are being forced to it. It's because you enjoy doing it. Then it happens. That's the second learning. Third, I think, is about being passionate about. You cannot give your best if you're not enjoying what you're doing.
Like it.
You,
Right.
you take a Virat Kohli, who's been doing so well for so many years because he just loves cricket.
That's right.
You know, you know, Bill Gates said that he built Microsoft because he just loved coding.
Correct.
So I think we have to just anybody. You take any painter, musician, athlete, any sports person, they just love what they're doing, and that's why you can excel. We have to love. It cannot be a drudgery that I have to wake up every Monday morning. I have to go to office. And I'm looking for a break now. You have to just love what you are doing. You become so passionate about your running. It is because you love it now.
That's right.
It's not a burden for you. I have to wake up at
No,
5.
no. You're
In
right.
fact, it'll be other way around. If I don't go one
Don't
day, I'm
go.
missing it.
Yeah.
Something is wrong. I have to go. I think that's the other learnings, if you ask me. So third, I think, is that fourth one is about being humble and staying grounded.
Beautiful.
You
Beautiful.
know, the law of nature is, if you want to climb a mountain, you bend down and climb.
Yeah.
If you become straight, you'll fall.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I
So I
really
think
love
that's
loving this.
so that is what we have to do at work. Also, you have to be humble. You have to be comfortable in others' success. Don't compare yourself to others. Define your own journey. These are the few things which I have kept me in good stead. I have faltered on these also. There are moments where you feel what is happening. There are moments of frustration. We all are human beings. We have our
Absolutely.
emotions. But long term, this is what has helped, is what I would say.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
And how do you keep reinventing yourself? What do you do to reinvent yourself?
So this is a important one, and I think in the world in which we are today, this is to be we have to be a student throughout our life. The minute I started believing that I know it all, then I'm done. We have to learn it all. It's important, and there will be no textbook to tell you. Uh, I'll give you a few examples. Given my role, it is very important to understand the P&L of the company, the balance sheet of the company. There is no finance course for this.
That's
It is
right.
just being curious,
Yeah.
asking the five
Yeah.
questions, sitting in reviews, asking what does it mean, doing some reading. That's how you pick up.
Correct.
I'm immersing myself right now in trying to understand what is AI, what does it mean, how does it work, how can we apply. And you next time when we meet, I'll show something which we are doing in our function. I think is clearly setting the trend in terms of how things will happen for us.
Beautiful.
So this is all about reinvent. It is not a good to do. It is a must to do. And I think that's the most important part. But I feel.
Well, thank you. Now I'm almost coming towards the end of conversation. I just wanted to ask you this, especially for all of us to know what is Saurabh doing when he's not working?
Okay, so as you said in my introduction, there are three or four things I'm really passionate. One is I love reading, so I do a lot of reading in my own free time. Second is both me and my wife are passionate about Bollywood, so we actually go to the theater every week to see a movie.
Really?
Yeah, every
Wow,
week to see.
beautiful.
And if it is like the joke at home in the family, that if it is a very bad movie, we'll say we could have seen it ek baar dekhne layak tha. So that's I'm passionate about watching sports. So
Okay,
I'm a big I follow sports in good detail in terms of cricket, tennis,
okay.
and a little bit of football. So I think these are three sports which I really follow in terms of kind of stuff. Otherwise, I want to be a family man. Being with friends, being with family, kind of stuff is what but I don't have a passion right now from outside of work, which I need to like. Some people are like major into golf,
Yeah.
like you into major into running. I need to build that, and that's what is my key thing in the next 2 3 years. I have to do that.
Fantastic, sir. And last one, which I want to ask you, is what would be your message for young HR leaders or the students who want to make career in HR and those who will watch our podcast?
I just am the thing that I have learned our ability to make an impact to the business is far higher if we understand the business in which we operate. So understand and learn the business in which you are. One. And second, I would say is that, and I'm again repeating myself, always do the right thing. Play straight. It'll go. It'll keep you in good stead long term. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Saurabh. It's
Thank you.
been a pleasure having you with us
Thanks.
and
Thanks. This was
really enjoyed my conversation with you.